Hey, I'm back with another one. I just wanted to offer like just a little bit of like testimony and insight with this, which is that I said in another video that like I've been through some challenging things that can be appreciated as painful and challenging, and I had used recited a word in my heart, but in different ways to manage some of that. So that I wouldn't be overcome with defeating ideations or musing, to keep, so because you need discipline at all times. We always need discipline, even in fun, in favor. We still need discipline always, and part of that is keeping a certain posture in our heart, in our mind, and when really pressed, sometimes a particular word can really help with that. I would recite the word Allah in my heart, but in different ways, so as that I was communicating with myself. So if you've ever seen like people speak in tongues, like in religious settings, like an example of speaking in tongues would be like, go 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 go, each in which you didn't so I'm not necessarily speaking anything from a human dialect, but I'm communing with myself, and by those little fine, I can almost commune. I was looking at something, and I was referring to how beautiful a blade of grass is right there in my heart as I said that. But that's like, that would be appreciated in some circles, and that wouldn't be appreciated in some circles. But it is possible to speak to ourselves and commune with ourselves. If you've ever been around someone like from the deep south, a lot of times they'll talk to their body. That's one thing you might notice from people from the deep south. Like, come on, leg, come on, we can do this, leg, come on, help me out, leg, we gotta, come on, leg. I had a really beautiful person that I cared for, and him and his family, as a personal care attendant, and he was disabled, but he would talk to his body like that, and his body would respond. You might also say that when you do anything like fine motor like that, you're more so talking to your body. If anything, that had maybe been your will, is that you're talking to your body, but on a deep, you're actually like talking to your body with your heart. Your body responds to what's going on in your heart, and if that is an intention that is real enough, your body will actually respond. That might be what motor control is, on the simplest terms. And I'm not trying to act like I can enunciate what would be more complex terms than that, but I think that it's something of communing with ourselves and speaking to ourselves from our heart when we do that. But you can also do that with things that you're experiencing and thinking, where if it's daunting enough, you can talk to yourself like that, and then that speaking like what would be called in tongues like that, that can do that. But you can also do that with a word. So I was doing that with like sounds, but you can do that with a word, and an excellent word to do that is Allah. If you're being really pressed for something, like pressed as only you can know you're pressed. A lot of times, like, we're going through different times. I was listening to this person who was like a former military officer. He was saying that the experience of a tour deployment is that one moment you're with your peers, or maybe your officers and whatnot, and you're bantering, and you're comfortable standing there talking, and the next minute you're in a situation that is far in the hell and worlds away from that, and it can be any degree of pain that you're sustaining moments after you were just bantering and fraternizing. But really, all of life is like that. So sometimes, as favorable things are, I think, if you're in a favorable position, it happens less, but every once in a while you just start getting pressed. Like, I'm in my own place now, and I have some privacy with that, but a dog can start barking, and when that dog barks, I'm getting pressed like to no limit. Like, is how pressing a small dog barking can be. So all I meant to say, whatever we got going on in life, sometimes boom, it's on you, and you can't actually get away from something in that moment. You have to sit there and grin and bear and think of Queen and Country, as the old British saying goes. So you think of duty at that time, and allegiance. And so what greater duty have you, or allegiance to your higher power, and how you invoke that? And for me, that would be the word Allah. But and you don't necessarily have to be part of a faith body to commune with yourself, and however that helps you. And for me, it's that word. But my message was that I think, even though I've been through that, sometimes I wasn't actually having real fun and satisfaction in life for a long time like that. And I think part of that was actually just because I wasn't outdoors. So you don't have to go far off the beaten path to get into nature. Like, you can just go simply outside and sit down. And I've also said that some of our experiences are a function, according to the teachings of Arthur Avalon, of the actual design and color and purpose and fabric of a particular chair we're sitting on. So some chairs have have profound meaning in the color. Like some would be like, I think like sitting on a chair made out of elephant skin, there would be deep implications of the subtlety of how that could affect your decision making and the ripples of your actions and goings on from that point. Because from that perspective, it's a cause, and that it's a subtle, efficient, primal ripple that goes into your thought process, in your speech, in your action and conduct that amount to circumstances. Is a function of how and where you and what you're sitting on, and also the color and the design and appearance of it, according to Arthur Avalon. And some of those can be more or less favorable, but I think maybe what might be the most favorable thing to sit on is actually the earth. And so you can have cooler experiences sitting down on the ground, even in an upscale restaurant. So sometimes I pick up orders, and I'll bring a guitar with me, and it's actually better positioned to practice from while sitting down. So I'll sit down pretzel style and start playing a guitar where in a restaurant, but I'm not in anyone's way, and it's actually a better look, and it's a little bit more of a classy look if it's really who you are in that moment than sitting up on a chair or something. And sometimes people will approach me and I'll have a cooler experience and get to know someone better from that position. So I was thinking, so a lot of these times that I wasn't having satisfaction in life is just because I wasn't outside. And if you think about, like, there's something a little bit stifled about being indoors. In that book about songwriting that I've referenced a couple of times, On Songwriting by Paul Zollo, he referenced one of those artists in there was saying that people don't appreciate the oppression of the rigid angle of being indoors, and how that affects experiences. And I think you could even say that lovemaking is like that. I've had different experiences with women, and when I was out of doors, it was a truly enjoyable experience, and I heard back about how enjoyable it was from the grapevine. When I was indoors, it was still enjoyable for me, but I didn't hear the same thing back from the I heard half of a good report back from the grapevine, but not an entirely good report. And I think some of that might have just been being indoors. So things can be way, way greater, whether that be lovemaking, practicing music, anything. But just being outdoors doesn't mean you have to be walking or hiking. You can actually just sit down on the ground, and sometimes you find actually peaceful. I'm in a residential area now, but it's probably more so peaceful even than a park, sitting here with the sun on me in a decent temperature outside, and doing something enjoyable and creative like this. So I just want to say that we can have a lot of cool experiences just by going outside, and also sitting different places than we would, no less than sitting pretzel style on the ground. But the other thing I wanted to say is that, so I mentioned now videos about leading with hearing, smell, vision, observation, feeling, and now I want to say drawing inferences. That's coincidences. So one inference that I mentioned was, so you can appreciate the energy has changed now because somebody walked in front of a dog, and that actually shifted the energy. According to Arthur Avalon, you always have self-interest, big-heartedness, and maintenance, that is preservation, even protection, self-defense at play at all times. And so as different things come into an environment, it affects the spin of that. So you had like a family walk by in front of a dog, and that dog now it's self-interested. The family is maybe big-heartedness, which would appreciate their softness and not fighting back with the dog. But the dog is also protecting itself. That's maintenance. With its self-interest. So the degree of big-heartedness, the family being big-hearted, the self-interest of the dog, but also the big-heartedness of the dog to protect itself and its environment. Now, he had a problem with me sitting here, but it was affected by them walking. So just the dynamics of those variables can fashion experience. That's an example according to Arthur Avalon. And those are called the gunas. Tamasic is like the animalistic self-interest. Sattva is the big-heartedness, such as like bodhisattva. Sattvic is associated with Vishnu. And then Brahma, so you have like the creative, the self-interest, the self-interest, the big-heartedness, and the maintenance always at play, and it actually fashions the nature and inclination of beings, but also environments, and that's an example right there. But all I meant to say is that, so I just wanted to do a quick video about drawing inferences, such as where I was going with this one, and that's another form of leading, appreciating detail and recognizing detail and extrapolating from detail. There's different extrapolation going from a general to collective and collective to general. I think that's called inductive and deductive reasoning. Deductive would be go to general from specific. Inductive is to go specific to general, is extrapolating, and that's also a way of appreciating details in an environment, or preserving details from an environment to inform other perception in different environments, in different circumstances.